Okay, another video sponsored by our friends at Manuka Jelly, I think is what it's called. I should really contact them. Stuff is awesome. This is the JoyAudio Shine. So the name of the set is Shine, and the company is JoyAudio. I've never heard of either one. It's very interesting. The internals, the design, all of this is, I find this to be very interesting, and I actually find it to be appealing. Before I do an unbox, I'm going to edit this video and maybe slap that at the end. So let's talk about the earphones and how it sounds with music right from the beginning. That's the Galileo from Let's Shore and Timmy, and that's going to be via the magic wheel, which will be spun during this video. Somebody commented in the Galileo video. If you comment in this video, you're going to get this set. That's how that works, pretty much. So the Galileo will be given away today. I'm going to buy a brand new set, and then I'm going to have that sent to your address. That's how that set's going to work. Now, moving to this set. It's got a frequency graph that is, I picked one of the 16. This is got a little bit less sub bass than my target. My target's just a target. Critical is mid bass. This is where tucks happen or bloat happens, and I thought this is pretty good actually for my library. It comes in around 300 hertz, corrects itself. It's got a slight dip. It's got a bump. It's got a unique mid to upper mid transition that looked very familiar to me as soon as I graphed it, and I wanted to find that set, and I knew which one it was actually, and you probably do too, because it's interesting, and that is the Moondrop Variations. Now the Moondrop Variations was the set that I dinged immediately for one particular reason. The way that it boosts the sub bass and then it pulls back the mid bass, and how that affects the rhythm section of my libraries. Now, if you're a musician, like a lot of bassists and guitarists and drummers who watch my channel, you know that that area right there at around 200 hertz has an audible and direct impact in the way that a bass guitar or a male vocalist or a drum kit sounds. Hobby Talk, who I'll put a link to below. Remind me in the comments if you don't see the link. He's a bassist, and he saw it, and he's heard it, and he knew the whole time. And he did a very simple demonstration for people like many of you who are not sure exactly what this does to music, to instruments. And so Hobby Talk did a very simple, basically the variations tuck, and then a regular glide type, which is kind of like this. So this is these two, and how that impacts. So I'd recommend you listening to that video, because it doesn't matter the quality of what you're listening to. It's not a sound quality test. It's a EQ of the variations and of something like a Shine with the glide in that same section, how that impacts the rhythm section. It's a huge thing, and a lot of people who weren't fans of my Con, which was based on the original Zero, and is kind of a more tightened up, to some extent, version of the, actually maybe not, of the Variations. A lot of people ding that because of the lack of energy and meat and note weight that it has, and that can be attributed to the tuck. This set doesn't have that, but it does have the same treble as the Variations, which I've never had a problem with. And a lot of people that like the Variations really like that. So this is a set that doesn't have a lot of mid bass, or has a proper amount of mid bass. It doesn't have a lot of sub bass, but it's got a treble profile that is quite interesting. This is a very, very interesting set. So that's the frequency graph, and that's how it compares. Sound quality you can't get from a graph, but you can get a general tonality in how things are going to be presented, and whether the rhythm section is going to be forward and encroaching into vocals, whether vocals are going to be too loud and seem to be way in front of the band. Graphs do tell a lot. Don't extrapolate stuff like sound quality resolution, because you can't possibly get that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down for a second, and I'm going to talk about some music and how this plays back my library. I think that stuff like Big Boy Kill Jill, Pack Like Sardines, In a Crushed Tin Box, Tupac Violent, I think tracks like that have enough rumble, maybe definitely not as much as something like my collaboration with QKZ, the XHBB, the single DD for $20, the K-Bear Rosenfinch that I got to do a video for, the Fat Frequency Maestro Mini Stuff that have a lot of sub bass over mid bass gives a lot of kind of a rumble effect to a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about now. Stuff that's tuned more like an area or an aria with variations of slight tilts of the sub bass and mid bass. Do this as well, but not quite as potent and powerful. And if you're a bass head, you know what I'm talking about. That graph I just showed will do fine for rock and roll, but if you want real impact in certain parts of your library, that's not going to do it for you. What this will do well is when you get to something like the bass guitar, and in particular, so that I hate being vague, let's get to Dire Straits' Sultans of Swing. The bassist is pinning this down. The pulls and releases, the snaps of the strings sound nice and clear on this set. It sounds like it's got decent to slightly better than decent resolution. The authenticity to my ears and how I expect a bass guitar to sound and a drum kit sounds very good on this. And in particular, if you get this set, this is the track that I listened to come to that conclusion. I think that it does bass guitar very well. Have no problems with it. Violent Femmes, Please Do Not Go, other stuff like that. When I listen to drums, John Bonham, Neil Peart, drummers like that, a lot of power and force. I thought it sounded authentic. The kick drum when the levee break sounded the way that I expected to, not overproduced, but an audibly produced, mixed with kind of panning and echo effects. You can catch that because that's the way it sounds instead of a slightly neutered, just a regular kick drum. It sounds like it's been meant to be the standout at that point in the production, and it is with this set. So that does come through. Listening to vocals, I think this does actually really good with vocals. Listening to stuff like Madonna, Take a Bow, Chris Cornell, Nothing Compares to You, everything from Fleetwood Mac, Cheap Trick, Nirvana, actually. I thought this sounded awesome. I actually went past that. Vocals are not an issue with this. There's a tiny scoop in the mids on the graph, but that's not really playing out in any vocal stuff except for Aerosmith, No More, No More, but that's really kind of the production of that tune. I didn't find vocals to be a problem at all. The string section was interesting, notable. I have not really listened to the variations for a long time, that type of profile in the mid to upper mids. And I listened to this set and I thought, wow, it sounds good, but it sounds slightly different than what I've been listening recently. Listen to the variations, it does the same thing. That same kind of balance or off balance that it's putting on strings is for both sets. So that is definitely related to 1K to, let's say, 6K. That area and how this is handled is making string sound, I would say, in my face, but not really in my face in a bad way, but it's more notable than it has been on recent sets that I've reviewed. And I had to go back to the variations to kind of reset my brain and be like, okay, I have heard that before, but I didn't ding it when I first reviewed it. I wasn't doing string sections when I did the Moondrop variations review. Sounds good. If you like that energy to be turned up just a teeny bit, then the variations is what you like. This does the same thing, kind of. I think it's good. Its weak point would be it's got so many selections that it's almost going to turn off some people because most people don't play around with 16 options. I found my favorite. I think that's good. If you don't like EQ, this will probably find it for you anyway. Another ding would be, I actually don't have another one coming right off the top of my head. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to sit here scratching my head and come up with something just to satisfy the wolves in the comment section. It actually sounds quite good. Impressive first launch from a company I've never heard of. Good set, $80. I would recommend it. It's something you should have, probably. It works with cables that come with sets like KZ, QKZ, so if you've already got sets like that in your collection, you don't need to roll cables because this will work with the same one. The cable in this is pretty good. Let me go ahead and stop this and we'll go and take a look what's inside this box. Okay, unbox. Let's see what we got here. I might fast forward some of this so you don't have to go through the pain and misery. Take off the top box, open this up, and you got just a lot of literature. I want to go ahead and say a public thank you to whoever the person that came up with this is. This is a nice, big, clear font, and I can see it easily from here or from here. I don't need to get it up into my face like this, like a lot of sets that have these dip switch settings, which I can't look at it because it's so, my eyesight's fine, but some of the fonts that they use are like 0.5 or something. This is nice. Thank you. Continue this. And if you're another company, do this font. Make it easy so if somebody's got a small light on their desk, it's nighttime, and they pull this out, they can still read it fine. They can do what they want to do with it fine. They don't got to turn on another light and look at it and say, which one? This is clear and easy to read. This is the way it should be. This is an awesome kind of start when you open up the box. I like that a lot. Open it up and you look at it from this way. You're going to notice that I believe this, so it says left and right, but it's the opposite sides. This is actually the right side button, and that's the left one. So I don't know if this is upside down or not. It's got tips that are on it right now, and then it's got 3 sets of, I don't know if they're labeling it or not. They're not. One of these is a wider bore than the other, so one would be, the narrow bore would be probably better for bass, and the wider bore would be better for having a better stage. It's a, this one in particular is a 3.5. See if I can get this off real quick. There we go. 3.5. It's a nice cable. There's no strange kinks in it. It's got a Y split. It doesn't have a chin slider. I don't even use those, but some people are, they're very into their chin sliders. This one doesn't appear to have one, but it does seem like a nice cable. It's not too spidery. It's easy to, I've obviously graphed and measured, so this has already been out of the box. Cable is nice. Case is decent. Let's take a look at the buds. You notice now that we've got, if you hold this up, you can see that the metal shell is like half, a little bit less than half of it. The cap is larger here to contain, or the backing and secureness of the circuitry for the 4 dip switches, which it runs all the way over the 2-pin. So that's kind of unique, where you usually see that this cap will be about that thick and it'll go all the way around the set. This is splitting out and then covering the back end, which is a smart idea because this is a weak point when you put the dip switches, people breaking stuff and scratching stuff, and this is going to be stronger. And then you see the external like QDC type. So this is a metal. I believe it comes in like a silver as well. If you hold this up to the light, you can see the internals. This is a well-built set. The screen is nice too. It's not like a, it's a screen door screen, which is what I like. It's not that, looks like aluminum foil with a thick aluminum foil with diamond triangle punches in it. You've seen it before. You look at that and you think, ah, that's garbage. This looks nice all the way. It's got a good case. It's got a decent cable. Build quality seems quite nice. I'm a fan of one of its tunings, of its 16. For $80, I would recommend it. I think a lot of people are going to actually be big fans of this, to be honest with you. I hope this company does some stuff. A couple would be, I don't know all these switches. I guess you got to do different stuff to appeal to different people. 2 switches? 2 switches, 4 profiles? Something like that. Easier maybe for you to build, and easier for people that buy it to find it appealing, because instead of getting overwhelmed with 16 different profiles on somebody's tool, they're looking at 4. One that's more set for pop, one that's more set for classical, maybe vocals, Kind of like that. A bassy version, a treble-ish version, a more neutral balance version. And leave it at that. That would be my opinion. That's it. Now, since you waited so long, let's go ahead and give away. This stuff never goes away. Here we go. My throat's falling apart right at the end. Okay, here we go. So this is the person that's going to win the Galileo. And again, comment below to win the set we're talking about today. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Spin it out. Austin Kona. Austin Kona 1633. You get in touch with me, Hawaii Bad Boy, Gmail. Do that. Give me your address, your name. I need email so that you can get tracking for the set. And I will have a set that I purchased from Hi-Fi Go. You don't want a used one. You can send me a mail and say, I don't care, I want that one, and I'll do that. But I'll go ahead and buy a brand new one as soon as it's launched and have it sent to your address. I'll actually just buy it offline. I can contact the rep over there, so don't worry about it. Anyway, you got a brand new set coming. Unless you just absolutely can't wait and you want it, then I'll send this one. So it's up to you. I'm going to have a set in my collection either way. Austin Kona 1633. Get your stuff. Come and get your load. Joy Audio. Good job. Nice start. A little bit complicated. Huge fan of the simple stuff. I can read this at distance. I can read this under low light. Very nice. Somebody said that these are actually inverted. I don't know. I do know that the left-right of this is inverted. This is slightly wrong, but that's not something that's going to impact people's joy of listening to music. But to tighten it up, something like that, and then 2 switches? Maybe simple it down for the production line, lower the price, and make it more appealing for people that are looking at graphs or watching videos, because it's hard to follow when people are talking about 16 profiles, with some of them being not so different from the others. So that'd be my advice to the company. But I would say 2 thumbs up, 1 covered with a white glove. Nice job. Austin Kona, come and get your love, bro. Send me a mail. And we're out.